Hi, I'm Arden Kaywin, and today's episode of the Pro Singer Success Collective is all about how traditional training has been failing you and why. Stay tuned.
We are talking about a bombshell of a topic today. This topic is something that I stand behind, and it's a bit controversial, but I firmly believe that what I'm about to say can be a little bit inflammatory, but I'm going to say it anyway because it's been the truth of my experience. And I also think as a teacher and as a singer over the last 20 years, I've noticed that it's been the truth of a lot of your experience too. So here's what I'm going to say. The way singers are currently trained in this country does not work. Doesn't work. And I say this with great love and great hope for change because I was a product of this system, which ultimately failed me in many ways. And I had to go outside of it to find success and understand just how broken it really is. So in talking about this today, you see, let me back up. The majority of highly respected voice teachers and vocal coaches and singing programs primarily focus on one thing: technique. Technique, 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 technique. Exercises, resonance, breath work, right? Breath support. And don't get me wrong, you need good technique. That is super important. But you guys, vocal technique is not optimized in a vacuum. Your body cannot do what your brain is sabotaging. It just cannot. And the way that singers are currently trained in this country, and the way, voice is currently taught by most voice teachers and most institutions, your teacher works with you on your resonance and your breath support, and you get in touch with your abdominals and your back body. And maybe you're lucky enough to have a teacher who talks about your pelvic floor and your intercostals, and you understand your inhale and your lungs, and, they explain the direction of support and the shape of resonance. And if you're really lucky, you have a teacher who shows you apoggio and how to ground the sound in your body and lean into your support. So I want you to consider the image of this entire body and everything that I just said, right? In this current way of training that I just mentioned, there's one giant, critical, crucial part of your body that gets left out. Anybody know what it is? Type it into the box. We're talking about all that stuff that I just mentioned, right? What part of the body does that leave out? Right. Your mind. Your mind. The way singers are being trained in this country does not work because it doesn't train your whole instrument. It forgets to include your mind. And when you don't address what a singer's mind is doing as part of her whole instrument, you leave out the thing that can and will, if left to its own devices, sabotage everything else. Okay? It's like, I've said this in some master classes I've done. It's like if NASA erected a rocket, okay? And this rocket was equipped with all kinds of kick-ass technology, which is like all your technique, right? Like everything that you're learning, right? That's all this kick-ass technology, right? But didn't put any rocket fuel in it. Is that rocket ever gonna fly? Nope. But that's how singers are being trained right now. Most teachers do not show you how to fuel the rocket. And you wanna know why? Because the teachers don't know how to fuel the rocket themselves, since they have been a product of the same broken system that they're perpetuating. So you guys, you have been an unintended casualty of a flawed system. You understand the technique, right? You have all that kick-ass technology in the rocket, but you don't have the fuel to fly. So you're probably wondering, well, what's the fuel, Arden? Tell me, what's the fuel? the fuel that catalyzes your technique is in optimizing the mind and the body connection. And this is what is not taught. It's all focused on body, 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 body. Okay. When you make the shift so that your mind and your body are working together for you instead of fighting each other, against each other, sabotaging you, then all that technique that you have hooks in and amazing singing just becomes effortless. And you can talk to some of the students, who've worked with me in the past and who've gone through my program where we do this kind of stuff. And like the best reward for me is when they, will be working and all the stuff they've been doing, and all of a sudden they have a moment singing and they stop and they get this look on their face. And I know that look because I've seen it many times. And the thing that comes out of their mouth is, oh my God, that was so easy. I didn't realize it could be so easy. You guys, the best sound is usually the one that feels the best and is actually the easiest to make. And most of you are working way too freaking hard because you're all in your body and you don't realize how your mind is making your body work a lot harder than it needs to. So the fuel that catalyzes this rocket, the fuel that catalyzes the technique, is in the optimization of the mind and the body connection. And so when you make this shift, right, things become effortless. That rocket is going to fly. Then we're not just talking about amazing singing, amazing technique. We're talking about making an impact with your audience. We're talking about like really powerful career trajectory, everything flies. So I'm curious, like, how many of you relate to this? Like, how many of you feel like your mind is sabotaging you, sabotaging your performances or your technique in some way? Just like out yourself in the chat, because it's like it happens to the best of us, right? Like, we are athletes. We are no different than a Major League Baseball pitcher, perfecting his throw. It's like he's got to get the mechanics of the throw, but his body can't do that if his brain is sabotaging it in some way. So like, how many of you can make an amazing sound, right? And totally nail that hard piece of rep, like exactly the way you want when you're by yourself? You're in the shower, you're in your bedroom, you're just rocking out on your own in your own practice. But the moment it counts, the moment there's something at stake, someone else is listening, you choke. Come on. Who's with me on that? I mean, how often does that happen, right? Do you relate? Or maybe you don't completely choke, but you also know that it doesn't sound as good or feel as good as when you're on your own. How many of you feel like you have this amazing sound in there because you've heard it from time to time in fits and starts, but like you just can't rely on when it's going to show up for you, like maybe it shows up and like, oh my God, that was amazing when it did. But then like, I have no idea what I did to get it to do that. And then the next time I do it, I think I'm doing the same thing, but it doesn't come out the same way. Who relates, right? You're not alone in this. Like, so many of us deal with this stuff because we're being trained from the neck down. And it's a sucky place to be when you're in that inconsistency, when you don't know if you're going to make your best sound or not, if it's unreliable, right? Like, it's so sucky, and it creates even more anxiety because it like the anxiety compounds on itself and creates this negative feedback loop of fear, which if you follow my content, you've heard me talk about many times. You can't rely on what's going to come out. So you hedge or you push or you manipulate or you force or hold as a reaction to that, which creates this sound that you were fearing in the first place. So now the fear is being reinforced, and that creates an even stronger reaction to push, manipulate, force, hold, whatever the next time. And so now you're in this loop, and it's a really hard spiral to be in, because it makes taking the kind of calculated risks in your career that are necessary for success really hard. Because if you don't have ultimate reliability, if you're in this fear of, that it didn't go right, so the next time you push more and then it goes even less right, and then you push more and then it's, like, why in God's name would you ever put yourself out there for those big opportunities that are really going to move the needle? You won't. Because you don't know what's going to come out. You can't rely on it. It doesn't matter that you can do it amazing when you're by yourself. It doesn't matter that you can do it amazing in the shower or in your car, right? Tell me, and I'm just going to hardcore you now. Tell me one successful world-class artist with a giant career who wasn't able to deliver in front of an audience. I don't care how good you are when you're by yourself. If you can't do it in front of an audience, then the career that you want is dead in the water. I'm just not going to sugarcoat it. I'm just going to call it tight. But imagine knowing that every time you open your mouth, you have the foundation to get your best sound. Can you imagine having that trust? You guys, when I open my mouth to sing, there is a level at which I just do not go under. I have that ultimate trust that like I know what's going to come out is going to be good because I've done that work. And you guys, it is not work from here down. I can give you guys the best technique in the world. And trust me, those of you who worked with me, you know, like I kick your ass in technique, right? But none of that matters if your brain is going to sabotage it when it counts. Okay? So imagine knowing that every time you open your mouth, you're going to get your best sound. Like, how would that change the game for you? Then all of that stress and effort and anxiety and fear is eliminated. It's gone. This is not a fantasy, you guys. It's not some fantasy. This is 100% available to you once you've engaged in this mind-body connection as the fuel to catalyze your technique. And, you know, this new way of working, it incorporates what I call mindful integration. And what mindful integration does is it trains the brain and it harnesses the power of thought to optimize your whole instrument. And in doing so, you're able to expand your artistry, expand your career, expand what's possible. And when you do that, right, you will sing in a way that delivers every audition, that delivers in every performance, every recording, all of these things. And that's what puts you on the map. That's what opens the doors to success every single time, because you will finally have the tools to get out of your own way. You know, I have a student who's been working with me for a really long time. And I was thinking about her the other day because she's just blooming in ways that like she never thought was possible. And her name is Anne. And I want to tell you about her because she's an amazing example of the old way versus the new way. So Anne's an opera singer, and she was the product of the broken system. When she came to me, she was pretty much ready to throw in the towel. She had gone to an undergrad program and majored in vocal performance. And did I say she's an opera singer? I think I said that. So she went to an undergrad program for vocal performance, majored in vocal performance, and was continuing to focus on her singing after graduating, but she wasn't getting anywhere. She was on the bench. And when she came to me, her ability to deliver a professional sound was wildly inconsistent, despite all her training. And it was causing her so much anxiety and fear when it came to auditioning and performing because, you know, not just fear, but like all this self-doubt and inferiority because she hadn't been able to fix this problem for herself and figure out how to sing consistently and deliver a pro sound like reliably. So she was beating herself up and thinking like, maybe this is as good as it's going to get. Maybe I'm not really as talented as I thought I was. Maybe I'm not meant to do this, right? And she had this like sinking feeling that all of the time and the energy that she'd spent on her singing had been a waste, because here she was at around 27, 28 and had nothing in the form of any kind of career or anything on her resume to show for it. So you can put yourself in her place and like imagine how all of these emotions compounded, and what happened is they showed up as a ton of tension in her jaw and in her neck, and as this like rigid holding of her support when she sang, and it made everything worse. But as we started to work together and as we, took a look and we got under the hood together, as she began to really understand how to work this mind and this body connection, she learned how to practice radical self-care. She learned how to catalyze her technique. She learned how to practice mindful integration in the moment of singing. And with those things, then her sound began to change in powerful ways. And within a few months, this talented singer who was just so suffering because of being so stuck in tension and inconsistency and anxiety and fear became able to access this free and beautiful and true, reliable sound whenever she opened her mouth, whenever she needed it. And fast forward to now, and this fearful singer who had like all this talent and training, but like very little to show on her resume, is now like fearlessly auditioning and consistently working, singing roles she only dreamed of before. Prior to COVID, she wrote me, and and I'll share with you what she wrote. She was talking about the last opera that she'd performed, and the one that she was currently working on was a Handel piece. And she said, I feel that my voice is finally able to do what I always wanted it to do. The arias that I'm working through now would have been impossible a year ago. They now fit my voice like a glove. She's now doing Barbarina in an online production of Marriage of Figaro, like right now. So for those of you who think, oh, it's COVID, like there's nothing, blah, blah, blah. You guys, my singers are making it happen because they're not in the mindset of lack. They're not in the mindset of everything that's wrong and what's not working. They are in an empowered mindset, and they are working. So this is why I do the work I do, you guys. This is it. Left to the old way of training, Anne would have quit because the old way of training, like it didn't even begin to address her problem. And this is why I say that the way singers are trained currently in this country is broken, because understanding technique means absolutely nothing if your brain is sabotaging your body's ability to use it fully. So I think we do a huge disservice to singers by not showing them how to train the entire instrument, mind and body. And in doing so, the world loses out on a ton of great talents. Don't let that be you. Don't let that be you. You have too much passion. You have too much talent and artistry. You've put too much time into this to end up being a casualty of this flawed and broken system. You know, if you have related to this today, and if you feel like, oh my God, I never thought of it this way, and that's totally what's happening to me, and you're ready to step into the highest and best version of yourself as a singer so that you can achieve those things and thrive in your singing in your career at levels that you know you're capable of, but you're just not realizing right now, then oh my God, don't waste a minute. Book a call with me. Let's like get you sorted. Let's figure out what's going on, you know? Like this is the work that has been left out. And when you put this piece into the puzzle, when you fuel the rocket, it's like, right? Anne did it. Kay did it. You guys have heard me speak of my singer Kay, whose song charted number 28 on Billboard dance charts a year ago, last January. My singer Tess has done it. This was a singer who had no commercial recordings at all released, and after doing this kind of work, had, what was it? It was Estee Lauder, the major cosmetics brand. She had a song her song represented their brand in this international campaign over the holidays. This just recently, November and December, that was like a $50,000 song license. And this was somebody who had no commercial recordings prior. Not because she wasn't an amazing singer or songwriter, she was, but they were all stuck on a hard drive, and she wouldn't release anything because nothing was good enough. So there was a lot of stinking thinking, a lot of stuff going on that made it hard for her to make the sound that she felt she wanted and she could make, but that wasn't showing up on the recordings, which was why she wasn't releasing them. And through this work, the first thing she put her voice on, boom, international exposure. You know, they're not the only ones. My singer Grace, she's doing a live streamed concert version this Friday. And again, this is a singer who had not put out a record in years because of all of the things that we were just talking about. Okay. So when I say book a call with me, I'm inviting you into the first step of a journey that has the ability to shift everything for you. And the first step is clarity. So what we do on the call is we just get clear. And this is a free call, and it's just to get clear on what are the problem areas? Like, what are the ways, the things that are going on that are keeping you stuck, and to understand if it's a fit to work together. And if it is, fantastic. If it's not, also fantastic. There's still so many things that you'll get out of the call. And then if it's not a fit, I will recommend something else or someone else where you can go to get the outcomes that you're looking for. So if you're ready to rock and roll, if you're a singer who has spent so much time and you have so much training and you've been putting yourself out there and you are not seeing the results of that because you are a victim of this broken system, please do not waste a minute. For those of you who have not had a lot of training yet, if you have not had at least a year of private one-on-one training, this call is not for you yet. A lot of the insecurity and frustration you probably feel is because you just don't have some, foundational tools in your technique yet, that when you do, you will feel so much better. So if you're relating to a lot of this, but you're saying, well, I don't have a year of training under my belt yet, go get that first. There are just some basic things that you need, because without that, these strategies are not, they're premature. Okay. So there's amazing teachers who are working online. We're all online now. So you can work with the best teachers in the world, so look them up, go get that first. And for those of you who are at that next level where you've had all the training, you've been putting yourself out there and you're just not seeing the results of all that in the form of the thriving career that you really want, let's get on the phone. Let's see what we can do. It doesn't have to be such a slog. You don't have to stay stuck. Go ahead and book a call with me and let's get you off the bench. All right, everybody, have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I'll see you back here next week. Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning into today's episode. If you want to subscribe, click the link right over there that says subscribe. And if you want to book a breakthrough session with me, which you absolutely should do, then click the link right over here that says book a call to schedule an appointment to speak with us. I'll see you on the next episode.